players coming on to the Dolphins is a hot topic. Cook coming over from Minnesota, still lingering out there. Maybe some guys to help us on the offensive line. But I want to take a little moment to focus on a big player, no pun intended, on the Dolphins roster that's, I hate to say it, a little bit possibly in question. And that would be Christian Wilkens. He's playing on the fifth-year contract. He's going to be looking for a big payday. When you see Daron, Payne, and Dexter, what they got in their contract, and you really factor in, if it's not signed this year, it's going to even be bumped up to more next year. Are the Dolphins really putting their minds on getting him signed? Or do they just say, hey, you know what? We're going to have to go in a different direction from a cap standpoint. I don't know the answer, but I want to show you Wilkens, where he's at. I'm going to go over Lawrence and Payne, their contracts, and what they've produced and where Wilkens fits in and what it means to keep him and what it means to let him walk. I love the kid. I've loved the kid since we signed him. I did want Dexter Lawrence over him in the draft, but it's weird how Lawrence ended up being the better pass rusher, being the bigger guy, and then the smaller guy ended up being the better run stopper. NFL's so interesting. It's so weird, so hard to eval. Both are great players. So to me, I want to get Wilkens back. I want to get Sealer back. I want to get Hunt back, and I want to get Connor back. I want everybody and Cook to be on this team. But the reality is, I know there's no such thing as a cap, but we see teams cut players loose every year. So I think it stretches really far, guys. So before I take a look into all that stuff, it is an interesting survey of these three players. I wanted to give you guys a shout out. I thank you all the time for stopping by, and I really mean it. I appreciate everything you guys do. Because without you, without my sponsors, Ace Per Head, this show ain't going down. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. Wilkens is the heart of this defense. It's so hard just to explain unless you kind of understand the synergy between run defense and pass defense. I sometimes think the people that I see, not you guys, but other people, they get a little bit fixated on what a person can do in one element of a game or what a defense can do in one element of the game. But there are two facets on both sides of the ball, and both of them play critical roles in the synergy of the other. And Christian Wilkens is a run stopper. That's what he is. He can get after the pass a little bit by getting deflections, put some pressure on, but he's just not getting to the quarterback like these other two guys, like Payne and Lawrence. And so, depends on the philosophy of the GM, depends on the philosophy of the DC and the head coach, what they value. To me, Wilkens is worth every penny we'd give him in the mid-20 range. And there are plenty of GMs out there that would say the same thing. But given our cap situation with all these high-priced guys, and depending on what our philosophy is and how we feel like we can mitigate his loss in the run-stopping department, it could mean Wilkens walks. I don't like it. I think if they really do intend to let him walk, which I'm not certain they're going to, I think they should just trade him and get something for it, even in this critical window, because it's better to get rid of a guy a year early than a year late. But I'm going to go over Payne and Lawrence and compare the three guys. And Payne and Lawrence got very, very similar contracts. 90 years. 90 years. 90 years. Wow. Guy's an unbelievable player at 89. $90 million over 4 years with $60 million guaranteed. Now, the Dolphins next year, they're going to be minus 14. It's not going to factor in Agba, who we might be moving off. That'll bring us to around, maybe $3 or $4 million above. But there's guys we got to sign. We got Sealer. obviously Wilkens, who we'll talk about today, Hunt and Connor, and other guys, and we'll only have about 30-something players on the roster. So, and you can always finagle things and move it forward. I know that, but eventually you got to pay the piper at some point. So the Dolphins may be thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe we keep Sealer. He's a little bit cheaper. And then we get another run stopper guy in the draft or something. There's always ways these GMs are thinking on how to get the team better, both cap and on the field. Now, if you take a look here, you'll see the contract of Payne. All right, so you take a look over here. On Sunday, the Washington Commanders made Daron Payne the second highest paid defensive tackle in the NFL. Payne agreed to a 4-year, $90 million contract that includes $60 million in guarantees. Then over here, Lawrence has agreed to a 4-year, $90 million dollar deal with $60 million guaranteed. He's the third highest paid defensive tackle. So these two guys are top players, better pass rushers than run stoppers, which is odd, but they are now the second and third highest. I don't know if it's changed a little bit, but Wilkens is surely looking to get in on that action at $90 million for 4 years, if not more. So I'm going to lay out their stats and who they are as players and let you kind of look it over and marinate in your head as an evaluator, as a GM. What would you do? And maybe what will Chris Grier do? So you can look over here in this image, and you see all the guys are relatively healthy. You got obviously Nick Bosa at the top because I wanted him as the premier guy to get a barometer of what the best is. I put Phillips there to show, this is Pro Football Reference, and they say 36 pressures. That image said 40, but anyway. But you can see that Phillips got 36 pressures, the same as Dexter Lawrence. And interior pressures like that are way more potent, way more valuable than exterior. That's how potent this guy is. And he's there at 10 and 11 each. And you can see Daron Payne at 32. He had 25, but 11.5 sacks. And you can go back and look at Lawrence. He had 19 knockdowns, but only 7.5 sacks. Both these guys are brutalizing quarterbacks in a huge way. Now you go down to all the way down the list. It's Christian Wilkens at 94. And he only had 2 knockdowns, 3.5 sacks, and 15 pressures. But that next total, you can see he had 98 tackles, one missed tackle out of all that, 1%. That's insane. Compared to Daron Payne, 64% and 7.2%. And then Lawrence at 68 and 1.4. Another excellent tackling job. So clearly the edge goes to Lawrence and Payne as far as getting after the quarterback. But there's scheme reasons involved. And we had to play very conservative to protect our secondary. So it might not necessarily be indicative of exactly what Wilkens can do. But clearly he leads the list at stopping the run. Now we'll take a look at this graphic over here, and you can see Christian Wilkens. This is a PFF grade. The last one was Pro Football Reference. This is Pro Football Focus. Wilkens, number 1 with run defense, 78.9. And he had, you can see, STOP, 46 stops. And his average depth of tackle is 1.7, which was excellent. Then you go down the list, you can see Zach Seal. I put him in there to let you know that, well, maybe this guy can, mitigate the loss of Wilkens. He had 36 stops at 2.2 yards per depth. And that's a big difference. That's half a yard. It's a big difference. So Wilkens clearly is the better run stopper. And then you have Lawrence, 81.2 run stopping grade. So it's even better than Wilkens. But he had 32 stops, 2.7 average yards per depth, which is, it's 9 feet, 3 yards. It's a big difference right there, almost half. And then you can see the very bottom end, Payne with his $90 million contract. He was not good last year in his run defense with a 49.5. He had 28 stops at 1.6 yards per average depth. Now, Wilkens had 6 penalties, Seal at 2, Lawrence 5, and Payne 1. So you can add that into the sauce of how you were evaluating this situation. Now, Miami could just tag him for a season, see what they can get in trade bait. So he's not going to walk free with that, but that would be about $20 million. So Right now, Wilkens is the driving force to stop this run game for the Dolphins, which frees up Phillips, frees up Chubb, frees up these pass rushers. And while he might not be the best pass rusher, what is he and Sealer adding to this game to get offenses off schedule, to give these other pass rushers their juice? I think he's clearly going to get 90+ million and a little bit more going next year. Will Miami pay? Would you pay? It's going to be a tough decision, especially if we add Cook. I don't know. Let's see how it plays out. It's going to be a very interesting story. So this is Curtis saying, hope you enjoyed. Catch you next time. Be well. Go Fins. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.